Hello, and welcome to my video. We're gonna go over how I painted this image. So I am new to YouTube. Well, not YouTube itself. I've been on YouTube since like before they were monetized. I love the tutorials and I just love learning and different topics and all that. But I'm new to content creation, so I'm just trying out different things. A lot of my illustrative work or my paintings do start out with a pen. I use Big Pen, or this is Zebra pen. It's not really an expensive anything to write home about. I like to use materials that are available to me. And I also start out in pen because I find with a pencil I erase a lot and it just made me a better drawer or painter. For paintings too, I find that if your drawing is not great, your painting won't come out great because the sketch is the foundation of the painting, at least for me and my process. So that is when I'm going here, and I always work from the bigger objects to the smaller objects to the finer detail, and then I add more and more pressure, which is what gives definitive lines. And now here I am working in, I guess what's called like the gristle or grisile. I don't know how to say that. I've read it. I think it's French. I don't know how to say it. Which is where you do like the shadows and grayscale and then you add color. And I honestly decided to do it for this one, for these subjects, because the lilies were white. And so it just was I have a hard time just like color contrast and stuff with the subject is when it's mostly just white because it's a thing of color kind of thing. um Now I am going to go in here with the color, um and I first go in with lighter washes and then work up the opacity. And then also you have to keep in mind that watercolor, once it does dry, it kind of lightens a bit. And so I like to work in many layers of washes, and you can call it glazing or whatever. I just work as I go, um, and do what I can with what I got. And you see here, I even up the opacity um, on that wash. It's a little bit darker and deeper. We're going to skip ahead and get some details in. This isn't like a huge step-by-step process, but if I'm gonna be honest, I forgot to record this fish. I'm gonna be honest, I forgot. I forgot. I forgot. So here we are. I'm adding more details, and you can see even this before from previous, it has more darker tones in it, adding the depth and then the different textures. And I use a lot of the technique called wet on dry, meaning the paper is dry and then I'm working with like wetness in my brush, and that's what helps maintain the edges, because with watercolor the actual paint itself is uh, the pigment will flow to wherever moisture is. It's not like gouache, which is like very thick, or like oils or acrylics, because acrylics and oils don't have flow because they're not responding to water on the page and spreading. Watercolor does that. And I always call watercolor like stained paper, because it's really about the paper. Like, I will always say this: if you are going to get into watercolor, the most important part is to care about your paper, because that ultimately is what's going to be seen, because the medium is transparent. And if you have a bad paper, then it can lead to having and giving you problems. Now, I'm not saying you have to spend like $1,000 or what have you, but there is a difference in quality. But I've started learning on the lower quality and student grade stuff, and it worked fine. I was able to do beautiful images. But when my techniques got more complex, more refined, more small and delicate in detail, because the paper was not structured in a way to have the right rates of absorbency, I would lose that detail. So then I had to up my game. It's the same thing with paints. I am a person who always champions use what is available to you. You don't have to use, the most extreme thing. Like, technically, I use a big pen, and then this is a mix of like my watercolor collection. I think they're like M. Graham and before, but I've used Prot before. I've used White Knight watercolors. Those are also in a pretty nice brand that's available. I've used Koi watercolors. It's not really the price of the colors or your materials, because the quality of materials will not replace lack of experience and practice. Let me say that again. The quality of your materials will not replace the lack of experience and practice. You need to put in the work, put in the time. I was waxing poetic. I forgot what we're doing. Now we're going here, and because the balance of the overall image, I started adding color charges, and that's where you pre-wet the paper and let the pigment bloom. And I do this on purpose for a couple of reasons. One, because I liked just the way it looked and float, carries the eye throughout the page because the image has striping down it. And then two, it helps with the contrast, right? So that fish head now, that line and contour of where the face ends, is now more pronounced because it is right next to a dark swatch, and then it just is vibey and flowy. Originally, this kind of style and this art style I stumbled upon because I made a mistake and I was trying to cover it up and it looked weird. So I just was like, we're just going to spread it across the page aesthetically, and it kind of worked out. So I continued to do it, but this time with intention. So you can see here I've added more each time with like intention about like what's overlapping what, trying to flow, adding a little bit more texture and color going on. Even here, I try to take the colors that are within the objects or the subjects of the image and kind of work them into these like color charges or spreads, because I just think it makes a pretty good, fun image. And this is some up close-ups, and you know, that fish on the bottom, not my favorite. I made it work though. There's my stamp. I made an artist stamp. It's easier than signing in paint. And thank you. There you go. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was fun. I thought it was. I don't know. Also, like, comment, subscribe. YouTube.